The night before the big university exam, my childhood friend coldly told me I was nothing but a hopeless bookworm. She straight up said I would spend my entire life buried in studies, completely blind to what real, passionate love actually looks like. Back in our senior year, she ended up falling completely into the gentle, dangerous trap of this local artist guy. That guy would just sit around smoking carelessly in his messy studio. He used to grab a piece of charcoal and casually trace these dark lines all over her arm, actually trying to pass off that completely absurd behavior as some kind of deep performance art. She sank so deeply into that illusion, totally unable to pull herself out. Her grades took an absolute nosedive right after that. Rock bottom, faster than anyone imagined. I was genuinely terrified she was ruining her own future, so I tried incredibly hard to guide her, patiently explaining every single piece of logic and reason I'd possibly think of. But right there in front of that artist guy, she pointed straight at my face and sarcastically mocked me. She said a boring nerd like me, Jiangturn, only knew how to bury my head in homework, and I would never understand true love. She claimed she would rather wander the entire world with him than live a miserably dull life with me, where every single day was totally predictable. The night before our exams, she completely tossed her studies aside. She ran off with that artist to some dusty, abandoned suburban factory, calling it a beautiful search for real artistic inspiration. I forced down all that heavy bitterness and crushing disappointment swirling inside my chest, completely relying on my own hard-earned skills to successfully secure my spot in the computer science department at Tsinghua University. My name is Jiangturn. I am 32 years old now, working as the proud founder of a huge artificial intelligence company. Today, my enterprise is valued at a massive $5 billion. I'm only bringing up all these old memories today because of what happened yesterday. During our high school alumni gathering, that is exactly where I ran into them Hu Chu again. She was carrying a heavy tea tray, walking through the crowd as a regular server. The exact second we made eye contact, her wrist completely trembled. Burning hot tea splashed wildly across the floor, and she nervously muttered an apology. She immediately dropped down in a panic to wipe the floor, her voice shaking so badly she could not even hide it. Looking closely, I could clearly see that her faded, dyed hair had very visible gray strands showing, right at the roots. And those delicate hands, once totally soft and perfectly smooth, like a little princess, were now completely covered in tiny little scars and rough, thick calluses. 14 whole years had somehow flashed by. That bright, arrogant girl who used to act like royalty had actually fallen so far down, working as a simple, ordinary server at our old high school event. How did things get this crazy? Our story actually goes back a very long time. She and I grew up as neighbors, living right across from each other in this incredibly old apartment building, and somehow, our entire connection started over a simple packet of instant noodles. I was only 5 years old back then, and she was barely 4. My parents were working overtime, leaving me home completely alone. I got so hungry that I just burst into loud tears. Hearing me cry, she tiptoed over with her tiny feet and knocked on my door, telling me not to cry. Little knew it, promised to share her delicious food. She reached right into her tiny pocket, pulled out half a crushed packet of dry noodles, and proudly handed it over. From that day forward, she became like this cute little shadow, following right behind me every single day, always asking me how to read different words. She would ask me to braid her hair, cheerfully declaring she would grow up to be my bride. Honestly, my family was struggling with some serious poverty back then. My dad was just a regular worker at the steel factory, and my mom ran a small vegetable stall at the market. The most valuable thing we owned was this tiny 14-inch black and white television that practically showed nothing but static all year round. Hu Chu's family definitely had it slightly better than us. Her dad worked as a high school teacher, and her mom was a nurse. Still, back in those days, the living standards between our families really were not that different. Ever since I was young, I deeply understood one harsh truth. Study like my life depended on it, or stay poor forever. Because of that, I pushed myself insanely hard. For 6 whole years of elementary school, I was always the very first kid to arrive, and the last one to leave. Meanwhile, she would always peek right through my classroom window, quietly waiting for me to finish so we could walk back home together. She would ask why I loved reading so much. I told her I wanted to get into a great college and find a decent job, just to give my parents a better life. She tilted her innocent little face up, eyes completely sparkling, and asked about her. I promised I would give her a wonderful life too. Hearing that, she instantly broke into the brightest smile, her clear laughter ringing out just like sweet little wind chimes. She promised to study hard too, vowing to attend the exact same university as me one day. By the time we hit middle school, we were still attending the exact same place. I managed to lock down the top rank in our grade all year round. Her grades, on the other hand, pretty much just hovered right around average. But she really did not mind at all. She would just smile brightly and say, having me tutor her was more than enough. You can totally picture these moments, right? Every single evening after study hall, I always stayed back to help tutor her. Those dim yellow streetlights would stretch our shadows out as we walked side by side in the dark. She used to ask me what we would become in the future. I wanted to be a scientist, and I asked what she wanted to do. Without missing a beat, she proudly declared that she just wanted to grow up and become my bride. Sounding completely confident in her logic, my cheeks instantly burned bright red, and I quickly told her to stop talking nonsense. But she stubbornly insisted. Her mom said childhood friends were naturally a match made in heaven. Back then, she just wore her hair in a very simple, cute ponytail. Her school uniform was washed until it was completely faded, but her smile somehow shone brighter than a million stars in the sky. When high school started, I managed to get into the absolute top-tier academy in the entire city. As for Hu Chu, she just barely scraped by to get into a totally average high school. Our two schools were halfway across the city from each other, so we really only caught up on weekends. Every single Saturday afternoon, she would show up downstairs at my place, right on time. Brother turn, high school work is way too hard. I just do not understand a single thing. Show me what you do not know, and I can teach you. But she just pouted, completely frustrated, saying she knew absolutely nothing. I patted her hair, gently, telling her it would all be fine. All through 10th and 11th grade, I completely cleared out my entire weekend schedule. I poured every ounce of my energy into tutoring her in math, physics, chemistry, and English. Slowly but surely, her grades actually started improving, climbing up from the absolute bottom of the class right into the solid middle pack. Brother turn, without you around, I definitely would never pass the college entrance exam. You are definitely going to pass, I reminded her. After all, we already promised each other that we would get into the exact same university. Do not forget that, I told her. She nodded hard, clearly taking the promise to heart. But right as senior year actually started, absolutely everything began to quietly change. Her school got a brand new art teacher for the talent exams, a guy named Turn Tin H. He was in his late 20s, rocking long hair. He had deep, hollow eyes, perpetually wrinkled shirts, and fingers permanently stained yellow from constantly smoking. The guy carried this heavy, brooding artist vibe around him that regular folks just could not really understand at all. The very first time she mentioned him to me, her eyes were practically shining with pure worship. Brother turn, she said. We got this incredibly talented new art teacher. He told me I have a real gift for painting, and that I should totally pursue the art exam route. My heart totally sank. Starting art training in senior year, there was absolutely no way she would have enough time. Teacher turn said it is no problem, and that he could actually tutor me privately. After that day, Hu Chu visibly stopped visiting me. She spent every single weekend completely buried inside that art studio. When we did meet up, every third sentence out of her mouth was about Turn Tin H. Teacher turn says art has to break worldly rules. Teacher turn even took us all out to the 798 art district. That feeling of shock was totally beyond words, she claimed. And teacher turn even told her that her natural feel for color was straight up genius level. I could not help reminding her, please, whatever you do, absolutely, do not neglect your regular academic classes. She just waved me off, super impatient and dismissive. I know. Why do you sound exactly like my parents? You nag way too much. Now pay attention, because this gets messy. I went to her school once, looking right through the studio window. I literally watched Turn Tin H holding her hand, guiding her brush stroke by stroke. Her cheeks were flushed bright red, and her eyes had this dazed, completely infatuated look that I had never seen before. My heart instantly dropped to the floor. I quietly started digging into Turn Tin H and his past. Turns out, the guy was 28, an art school grad with absolutely zero stable career, barely scraping by day to day from doing these temporary talent prep classes at various high schools. In just a few short years, he bounced between 7 or 8 different schools, never lasting very long anywhere. His industry reputation was absolute garbage. His own paintings completely failed to sell, so he just leeched off tutoring naive students simply to afford his next meal. Some people even whispered privately that his morals were totally twisted, and that he was pretty handsy with his students. I took every single dirty detail I found and laid it all out exactly like that for Hu Chu. But instead of listening, she absolutely exploded. Jiang turned. Why are you secretly investigating? Teacher turned behind his back. I'm just worried about you. Afraid you are getting manipulated, I said. Worried about me? You are clearly just incredibly jealous of him. She laughed this really cold, mocking sound. You are jealous he has actual talent. Jealous he understands true art. And jealous he lives totally free and like you. My days were already feeling dull and pointless. But that was the very first time we erupted into a massive fight. Hu Chu, please just wake up. The college entrance exam is literally only half a year away. The exam? The exam? She screamed back. Is the college exam absolutely all you ever see? Her voice got incredibly razor sharp. There are so many other things in this life truly worth chasing besides just studying and taking tests. Like what exactly? I asked her. Like real art. Like true love. And like actual freedom. Did Turn 10H teach you all this? I asked. So what if he did? She tilted her chin up, looking completely stubborn. At least he made me realize that reading books is not the only single path through this life. You are nothing like that, Jiang Turn. You are just a pre-programmed robot, blindly charging forward on one track without ever looking around. Just being around you, and getting ground down to nothing. I was starting to lose myself and turn into a robot exactly like you. Starting from that exact day, she completely vanished from my entire world. I went to her school, but she purposely took detours just to avoid me. My texts met pure silence, and my calls went straight to voicemail every single time. It gets worse. Hu Chu's mother came desperately looking for me, her eyes completely red as she begged. Little Turn, I am pleading with you. Please talk some sense into her. She spends all day buried in that art studio. Now, she will not even show up to her regular classes anymore. That teacher Turn guy, her mom insists he's bad news, and honestly, I can only force a bitter smile. Auntie, she just refuses to listen to a single word I say anymore. Her mom is shocked. Wait, how is that even possible? She's always listened to you. She's right. Growing up, Hu Chu relied on me, trusted my advice the most. But right now, pouring my heart out means absolutely nothing compared to a single careless glance or sweet word from Turn 10H. Then, before the new year hits, Hu Chu suddenly shows up at my door. She looks incredibly thin, eyes sunken, deep, but that intense spark in her gaze, completely impossible to ignore. Jiang Turn, came to tell you something. I ask her what. She drops the bomb. I am officially with Teacher Turn. Honestly, I totally saw this coming, but actually hearing those exact words come straight out of her own mouth, the entire world just goes dead silent around me. Not a single sound left to hear. I remind her the guy is way older. She shoots back. Age is never a barrier. True feelings win. Her tone is incredibly firm. What really matters is their souls connecting. I tell her she just turned 18. She snaps right back. So what? Why can't I fall in love? She totally cuts me off. Jiang Turn, she says. I already know you like me. I've noticed it since we were kids. But I'm sorry. I have only ever seen you as a biological brother. Do you want to know the absolute biggest difference between you and Teacher Turn? She lets it all out, venting every single emotion she's kept bottled up inside for years. All at once. You are way too logical, she tells me. So intensely rational that it honestly makes you feel terrifyingly cold. Your whole life is like this perfectly calculated math problem. Every single step you take is mapped out flawlessly. Not a single gap or flaw anywhere. You secured top grades in elementary, aced middle school to enter a key high school. All just to sprint straight towards Tsinghua University. After that, it's just working, getting married, and having kids. Like some textbook template, I can take one look at your life and see you at 60. But Turn 10H isn't like that at all. He carries this blazing, passionate energy of the real world. A totally fresh vibe I've never experienced before. He's different. He'll actually drag me up a mountain just to watch the 3 AM moon. Or he'll stand beside me in the pouring rain, just painting together on the streets. He is the one who finally made me understand that living isn't about ticking boxes on some life checklist. It's about using your heart to truly feel all the beautiful things in this world. I stare at the girl standing right in front of me. She still looks so familiar, yet she feels so incredibly foreign. I have absolutely no idea how to react. She is definitely not that innocent little girl anymore. No neat ponytail, no pure eyes. That version is gone. Now she's rocking a sharp, short haircut. Heavy, dramatic makeup, a whole row of ear piercings, radiating this overwhelming aura of pure teenage rebellion. Hu Chu, I just want to ask you one single thing. Are you still planning to take the college entrance exam? She pauses for a brief second, then forces a smile. Of course, I am taking it. Teacher Turn told me to apply for the art academy, and after that, the two of us will head straight to Beijing together. He has solid connections in Beijing. People who can easily recommend me to a massive art gallery there. Once we get there, we can live out our days as wandering artists in Beijing, completely free to chase our wildest dreams. As she says all this, her eyes shine with so much hope, acting like this brilliant future is already locked safely right in the palm of her hand. After the holidays, there's exactly 100 days left until the exams. That giant countdown board is hanging way up high on the school campus. But here's where things take a wild turn. While the whole school is drowning in intense exam pressure, Thum Hu Chu completely vanishes from everyone's radar. I only find out later through whispers that she practically stopped coming to class. She spends all day clinging to Turn Tin H in his art studio, calling it some fancy, intensive closed-door training. Her parents actually went looking for Turn Tin H, but the guy completely shut them down with just a few words, leaving them utterly speechless. He straight up told them, "You parents have ridiculously outdated mindsets, totally ignorant. Your daughter is a natural-born artist," he said. Absolutely not. Some mindless machine programmed just to deal with school exams. Following me to chase her grand art dreams has a much brighter future than just testing into some incredibly average, boring university. Just 1 month before the big exam, Hu Chu's mother comes looking for me, crying her eyes out, completely helpless. Hu Chu hasn't come home for an entire solid week, and her phone is completely off. The school says she's been missing forever. Tiu Turn, her mom begs, "Please help me find my daughter. I know she still listens to you." Hearing that, I run straight over to Turn Tin He's art studio. The door is locked tight. The landlord tells me that long-haired teacher moved out a long time ago, still owing a full 2 months of unpaid rent. And that student girl obviously packed up and followed him. I instantly tap into every single connection I have, asking absolutely everyone for leads. You are seriously not going to believe what I finally discovered. Turn Tin H rented this massive abandoned factory way out on the city outskirts, lying about building some exclusive creative art base. When I actually track down that ruined, desolate warehouse, the crazy scene waiting right in front of me is something I will never, ever forget. That massive abandoned space absolutely reeks. An overwhelming stench. A nasty mix of cheap cigarettes and heavy alcohol. The floor is completely trashed with scattered liquor bottles and cigarette ash. The walls are covered in bizarre, unsettling gray graffiti everywhere. A bunch of lazy teenagers are slumped over a totally shredded sofa. Their eyes look completely empty and blurred, drained of absolutely all life and energy. Thum Hu Chu just sits there all alone in the corner, holding her knees tight while staring blankly down at the dirt floor. The second she catches sight of me, this flash of pure panic hits her eyes. "Just come home." My voice stays perfectly calm, but holding a firm edge that absolutely refuses no for an answer. She just slowly shakes her head. "I'm not going back. The big university entrance exam is exactly 20 days away, and I have already decided I am definitely not taking it. You promised we would aim for the exact same university together," I remind her. A pretty bitter smile suddenly flashes across her face right then. She claims those were just silly childhood jokes. Things kids say that mean absolutely nothing in the real world. Right at that exact moment, Turn Tin H comes stumbling over, completely reeking of cheap drinks. "Hey, Hu Chu, isn't this that pathetic bookworm who only knows how to study?" He slurs his words with a super mocking edge, asking if I purposely ran all the way here just to rescue my precious little childhood best friend. He reaches out and heavily wraps an arm around Thum Hu Chu's shoulder, acting incredibly smug and painfully arrogant. "Too bad for you, man, because she belongs to me now." Hu Chu instinctively pushes him away, softly whispering that he drank way too much tonight. But he loudly insists he barely had anything at all. He yells out loud. His face looks totally unhinged and crazy. You can practically feel the disrespect here. I just want to show this pathetic bookworm right here what actually living a real life is supposed to look like today. Turn Tin H just keeps rambling on with total nonsense, throwing out every single mocking insult he can find. "You mindless exam machines have absolutely no idea what true art is. You completely miss the point of real freedom, and you definitely know nothing about actual love. These wild things are the actual true meaning of life. Hu Chu being with me makes her 100 times happier than she ever was following you around, right?" I just stare at him, ice cold. "So how exactly do you plan to actually feed her?" He instantly freezes up, his face darkening with pure annoyance. "So unbelievably shallow and vulgar. Every time you open your mouth, all you ever talk about is money. Is ordinary worldly wealth really the absolute only thing that matters to people like you?" A genuine true artist has never actually needed any money to survive in this world. We only ever need two perfectly connected souls. I honestly refuse to argue with this guy, so I just shift my gaze right back to Them Who Chew. Is this seriously the life you fought so incredibly hard to chase after? Them Who Chew very slowly pushes herself up and walks right over to stand directly in front of me. Jiangter, I know you genuinely want what is best for me, but I really do not need your version of a good life. She lifts her head. A thick layer of tears suddenly wells up in her eyes. Do you even realize? All these years I have been suffocating under your massive shadow. Everyone always admires me, constantly saying how incredibly lucky Hu Chu is to have such an amazing and perfect person nearby. A flawless childhood friend who literally takes care of absolutely everything. But not a single person ever stopped to ask what I actually want for myself. I absolutely refuse to just be your little sidekick. And I definitely will not spend my whole life hiding under your protection. I just want to walk my own completely independent path and actually live my own life. Even if this choice turns out to be a massive mistake from day one. I just take a deep breath and look at her. If you are truly this stubborn about it, I completely respect your choice. I turn around. Time to leave. Jiang turn, she suddenly calls out to me. I simply look back. Yeah, that huge university entrance exam. You really need to do your absolute best on it. You too, I tell her. But she just speaks up so softly. I'm already skipping it. I know, but Hu Chu, this road of life is incredibly long. If you ever get too tired and just cannot hold on anymore, please remember to come back home. Never looking back again, I walk straight out of that, completely ruined and totally desolate factory. The night before the huge entrance exam, I'm sitting all alone in my study room, while right outside the window, a light rain starts pouring down, and my mind simply turns into a completely chaotic, restless mess along with it. Suddenly, my phone rings. A totally unknown number flashes on the screen. Hello, am I speaking to Jiangturn right now? Then comes the call that changes everything. We are calling from the city hospital regarding a patient named Them Who Chu. My mind goes entirely numb, and I sprint out like an absolute madman, racing straight toward the hospital. Lying there on that hospital bed, Them Who Chu's face is completely pale as a sheet of white paper. The doctor quietly tells me there is nothing major, just severe malnutrition mixed with the cold rain, causing a massive fever that made her completely pass out. I stay faithfully guarding her hospital bed for an entire night, and right around dawn, she finally, slowly wakes up. Why are you even here? Her voice sounds so incredibly weak, completely drained of any real energy. The city hospital actually called me. She forces a smile, just pure, bitter pain in that look. Because in my entire phone, from start to finish, I only ever kept your one single number saved. Where is Turn Tin H? She stays dead silent for a long time, her eyes looking incredibly lonely and hollow. He ran away. The angry landlord showed up demanding rent money, and he instantly vanished into the night, leaving me completely all alone in that absolutely ruined old factory. I completely lacked any cash, tried walking all the way home, but halfway through the rain hit, and I just totally collapsed. She physically cannot even speak another word. Heavy tears just rolling down her pale cheeks one by one, as she chokes out a soft, broken apology. I gently comfort her, telling her to let it all go. Jiangturn, I was completely wrong. I was honestly just so incredibly wrong about everything. Glancing down at my wristwatch for a quick second, the big entrance exam is starting soon. She stares blankly right at me, asking if I still actually have to go take that exam. Of course I do, reply, but she worries that I haven't slept a wink all night. It is totally fine. I stand up. You just focus on recovering your health right now. I have to go. Jiangturn, she calls out. I stop walking, glance back. After your big exam, will you still come visit me? I stay quiet for a second, then answer seriously. I will be there. I don't break promises. The exact second the college entrance exams finally finish, I rush straight over to the hospital, but the nurse just tells me she is already discharged, taken safely home by her parents. I head to her house. Hu Chu's mom opens the door, her eyes completely red. She says Hu Chu locked herself in her room, refusing to see anyone, and asks me to try. I reach out and knock. Hu Chu, it is me. After a really long time, the bedroom door finally opens. Just a tiny crack. She is so thin, she almost looks different, her eyes completely swollen. Come in, she whispers, her voice incredibly soft. The room still looks exactly like it did when we were kids. The walls are covered in photos of the two of us growing up together. Neatly stacked on the desk are all the tutoring notebooks I wrote out for her back then. I kept all of these, she says. I just sit down quietly on the edge of her bed. Jiang Tran, if time could just turn back, but time really can't ever start over. I know that much. She gives this really bitter little smile. I'm just talking nonsense here. So what do you think I would have actually chosen back then? She stares out the window, completely lost in thought. I would have just studied really hard in peace and gotten into a pretty good college. And then what? And then what? She turns her head to look right at me. Then I would have stayed right by your side. Too bad there are absolutely no what ifs in this world. She is totally right. There are no what ifs. The room falls into a heavy silence. How did your exams go? She is the very first one to finally break the quiet. Pretty good. So Tsinghua University is a guaranteed sure thing now, right? Probably no issues at all. That is really great. A genuine smile shows up in her eyes. You have always been the absolute best at everything. It has been forever since I heard her call me that. So what are your plans now? I'm getting ready to retake the exams. She says she wants to completely start over from scratch. When the exam scores drop, I officially take the top rank in the city, hitting the top 50 for science statewide, and secure direct admission into Tsinghua University. The good news spreads fast through our whole neighborhood. Hu Chu sends me a text. Congratulations. I absolutely knew you would pull it off. Thanks. Then she sends my name, Jiang Tran. I'm heading to a provincial school to retake the year. My dad got someone to help find another school far away. Leaving this place to start fresh is probably for the best. Jiang Tran, we are still friends, right? I stare blankly at the screen for a long time, then slowly reply. Always will be. At the end of August, I leave for Beijing, and Hu Chu heads to the provincial school. She actually comes to the train station specifically to see me off. Have a safe trip. You too, I tell her. Jiang Tran, she hesitates for a second, then asks in a low voice. There will be a lot of amazing girls in college, right? Yeah, I suppose so. Well, then. You have to find someone really good, but do not find someone way too pretty, or she might easily get stolen away. She tells this deliberate joke, but right after, she turns completely serious. Just find someone who truly deserves you. The train slowly starts moving forward. I lean my head out the window, watching her figure, standing on the platform, shrink bit by bit, until she finally turns into a blurry little dot in the distance. Now watch how fast things change. College life hits me like a truck. The massive amount of knowledge and dense coursework is so heavy you can barely even breathe. At Tsinghua University, top provincial scorers and actual competition geniuses are absolutely everywhere you look. For the very first time, I genuinely feel the crushing pressure of being completely overwhelmed by my top-tier peers. But I do not back down at all, keeping up a strict 3-point routine every day. Just a straight line between the library, the lab, and the study hall. Working desperately hard. Exactly like senior year of high school. By the time freshman year ends, my cumulative GPA stands firmly right in the top 10 of the entire class. My advisor says I am honestly one of the absolute hardest working students he has ever mentored. Once sophomore year hits, I finally step into the artificial intelligence research lab. And that is exactly where I meet Zhao. She is a senior student, 1 year ahead of me, doing a direct PAAHDAADDDDHEHE track. Even though she is still so young, her name is already plastered across all kinds of top-tier academic journals. The most incredibly rare part is her calm personality. She dislikes loud, crowded places, exactly the same as I do. While other people go on dates, shopping, or watching movies, our dates are just sitting together debugging code. Other couples might whisper sweet, sugary love confessions to each other, but our most perfectly in sync compliment is just, your algorithm right here looks absolutely beautiful. Jiang Tran, she looks at me this one time and asks, do you know why I actually like you? Because I write pretty good code? She just laughs. No, it is because when you are totally focused on your work, your whole body practically glows. Junior year of college, I finally get some news from Hu Chu. Her retake year was a total success, landing safely as she got accepted into a regular, decent university, studying for a degree in Chinese language and literature. Even though it is not some famous top school, she is already incredibly satisfied with it. That is great, congratulations. Jiang Tran started writing novels and posted a few short stories online. Can I send them for you to read sometime? She really does send the drafts over. You feel it instantly. Her writing style is a bit green, but every single word holds deep emotion. Between the lines, it is entirely about the regrets and missed chances of our youth. I can easily see she is writing about the two of us, facing the crossroads of life in our senior year of college. Choices like getting a master's without testing, studying abroad, or going straight to work are all laid out right in front of us. I finally chose to go straight for my PhD, staying in the lab to dive deeper into research. Meanwhile, T. Zhao finished hers and got a sweet job offer in Silicon Valley. Just wait till you graduate, then come find me out in Silicon Valley, she said. I answered her definitely. When Hu Chu found out about all this, she quickly sent me a text. As expected of Jiang Turn, always so incredibly capable. You're getting better every single day too. Hey, Jiang Turn, I have a boyfriend now. He is an upperclassman, super tough-minded, extremely practical, and incredibly steady. I told her to really cherish that. So he is definitely not the artsy type anymore? She laughed at herself a little bit. He is just a programmer who specifically chose to do practical, completely steady work. Those 5 years getting my PhD were easily the most rigorous, yet the absolute richest 5 years of my entire life. Writing endless academic papers, managing complex new projects. I was constantly running around, attending all the top-tier scientific conferences in our industry. My main research direction, deep learning and computer vision. My advisor kept saying this was the ultimate trend of the future, and he wasn't wrong at all. In 2016, Alpha completely defeated Lettel, and artificial intelligence absolutely blew up the entire tech industry. Those academic papers I published earlier got cited a massive amount of times. Both Google and Facebook started sending olive branches, trying to recruit me, but deep down had way bigger ambitions. Working for someone else forever? No way. Now watch this massive leap. In 2017, my classmates and I scraped together $500,000 in startup capital. We rented a regular house for an office, using second-hand servers. We possessed the core technology, plus this totally fiery, relentless drive to never back down. Our very first product was a facial recognition system, landing our first major order in 6 months. Exactly 1 year later, Series A secured $20 million in solid funding. 3 years later, Series B successfully raised a massive $2 billion. The company valuation officially crossed $1 billion, turning us into a true unicorn in the tech industry. Throughout all those crazy startup years, Hu Chu and I still kept in touch with each other on and off. After graduating college, she actually stayed at a provincial school to work as an editor for a publishing house, basically fulfilling her heartfelt wish to just be friends with words. And her relationship with that programmer guy from before, over, they just had totally incompatible personalities in the end. Her voice sounded super faint. Actually, it is my problem. I asked her why. I kept involuntarily comparing him to someone else, and that really wasn't fair to him at all. Deep down, I knew exactly who she meant, so I didn't say anything more. In 2019, T. Zhao returned home from Silicon Valley. After 3 solid years training at Google, she had accumulated enough experience and a massive network of connections. Let's get married. She didn't have any fresh flowers, absolutely no diamond ring. Right inside the lab, she simply pushed a share agreement across the table to me. Very much T. Zhao's signature style. I laughed and agreed. The wedding was kept incredibly simple, only inviting both sets of parents and our absolute closest friends. Hu Chu sent over her heartfelt congratulations. Happy wedding, you absolutely have to be happy. I replied right back. Thank you so much. You too, I told her. Then 2020 hit and the pandemic struck. That artificial intelligence temperature measurement system we had been developing became an absolute, urgent necessity. Literally overnight, orders completely jammed our servers. The result? The company was pushed into developing at a truly dizzying, breakneck speed. By year's end, our Series D funding hit $10 billion, and the company valuation proudly rested at $5 billion. I had the absolute honor of stepping onto the cover of a top financial magazine. They officially labeled me an 80s generation newly wealthy entrepreneur, the powerful boss of an artificial intelligence unicorn. My old school even invited me back to attend the alumni reunion and give a big speech. I accepted the offer, and it was exactly at this alumni reunion, after 14 long years apart, that I finally crossed paths with them. Hu Chu once again. Ever see someone just worn down? 14 years had left marks on her that were so much heavier than I ever imagined. Her long hair was cut short, and she had wrinkles she couldn't hide. What really made my heart sink the most was her gaze, totally overflowing with dark, heavy exhaustion. That bright spark in her youthful eyes, gone. It had been totally ground down by real life, until it just vanished completely. Jiang Turn, is it really you? It's me, Hu Chu. It has been a really long time. She frantically smoothed back her hair, explaining so awkwardly. I'm just doing some temp work here. The publishing industry isn't doing too well, so I actually got downsized. The old school's event was short on staff, so I came to help out. She got halfway through before she couldn't speak another word. When the event ended, I found her and asked if she had time to chat. She hesitated for a few seconds, then gave a tiny nod. We headed over to that old cafe right next to the school. After so many years, the place still looked exactly the same as before. She looked all around us. Is it? The place hasn't changed. We are the ones who changed. She gave a bitter smile. I asked if she still wrote anything. I stopped writing long ago, she said. Why? Because a little nostalgia doesn't fill your stomach. Have you been living well these past years? She stayed quiet for a really long time, whispering not very well. After graduating, she bounced around several jobs and dated a few times, but they went absolutely nowhere. Her longest one lasted 3 years. They even reached the point of discussing marriage, but his mother completely looked down on her age and her average education. At the end of the day, they despised my lack of family background, so ultimately, we just had to break up. A woman over 30 in the marriage market? She basically has 0 choices left to pick from. I don't even know what to say for a second. Then she suddenly looks up. I heard you got married. Yeah, it is already 2. That's great, she says, her smile looking a bit stiff. Your wife must be an incredibly outstanding person, right? A Stanford PhD at EDDDHEHE, and we built our business together. Oh, that makes sense, she mutters to herself. Only the best can stand beside the best. Jiang turn, can I ask you something? Go ahead, I tell her. Ask whatever is on your mind. Did you ever hate me? I just gently shake my head. No, not at all. I really don't. Everyone has the right to choose their very own path. Her eyes instantly go red. But I hate myself. She whispers out loud, hating how stupid she was back then, totally blinded by vanity, hating how she personally threw away her absolute best chance at a peaceful, favored life. These past few years, she keeps dreaming about going back to right before the college exams. Wondering what if she hadn't followed turn 10H that night? What if she actually studied? What if she wasn't so stubborn? But reality has no what ifs. So what actually happened to turn 10H? I finally open my mouth to ask. She lets out this freezing cold laugh. He has just been aimlessly drifting through Shenzhen, using his same old tricks to scam naive young girls for a meal. Last year, he angered a student's parents and got beaten into the hospital. Totally deserved it. Honestly. Right here, you can feel the heavy irony kicking in. She gives a self-deprecating smile. Jiang turn, you know what's the most ironic part? That guy prided himself as a pure artist, always looking down on the secular world, always looking down on a massive bookworm like you. Yet he could not manage to sell a single one of his so-called art pieces. Meanwhile, that exact same nerd he despised so much, now sitting comfortably on billions of dollars in assets. Time has always been brutally realistic like that. As we are just about to leave, she suddenly stands right up, her voice rushed and somewhat desperate. Jiang turn, thank you so much for actually sitting down to talk with me today. I know I look incredibly pathetic right now, but honestly, meeting you actually makes me breathe a sigh of relief. Why? Because looking at you, I can clearly see what my life could have been. If only I wasn't so stubborn back then. She simply shakes her head, swallowing the rest of her words back down. Never mind, there is absolutely no point talking about it anymore. Jiang turn, could you possibly do me a huge favor? Tell me, could you give me a job opportunity? I can do anything at all, even just serving tea and pouring water for people. I look at the woman in front of me, the girl who used to be arrogant to the bone, now lowering herself to the absolute bottom just to survive. What are you good at? She says she used to be an editor, knows copywriting and formatting. Her education isn't high, but she is willing to learn and endure any hardship. I pull out my business card and hand it right over. Go to the HR department tomorrow. Tell them I personally recommended you. She takes the card, hands trembling uncontrollably as her eyes tear up instantly. Is this really okay? She asks, barely keeping it together. The content department just happens to need someone with a solid writing background. Thank you, she says. Jiang turn, I really, truly thank you. She just can't hold back her tears anymore. The very next day, the HR director gives me a direct phone call. Director Jiang, Miss Thum has officially reported in today. Her situation is a bit special, but since you recommended her, we will go ahead and process her entry following the normal procedures. I tell him completely calmly, absolutely no special treatment needed. Let her stay purely based on her own ability. If she can do it, she stays. If not, she leaves. Understood? In a flash, 1 month passes, and Thum Hu Chu smoothly clears her probation period at the company. The HR manager reports back to me. She works insanely hard, basically risking her life, arriving at her desk earliest and leaving latest every single day without fail. Her writing foundation is still a bit green, but she is improving at lightning speed. Practical, solid, and completely willing to grind and gain experience. The company holds its massive year-end party. I'm up on stage giving the annual summary speech, facing a packed crowd of eager employees sitting right below. And you know what's crazy? Even in that massive sea of hundreds of people, I instantly spot Thum Hu Chu sitting quietly in the corner. She is wearing a neat office suit, sitting there silently, head bowed down as she seriously takes notes in her little notebook. Compared to the energetic young Gen Z kids around her, she looks a bit out of place, but she is silently trying her absolute hardest to blend into this brand new environment. Right after the year-end party wraps up, she sends me a text message. Her tone clearly shows that cautious distance regarding our different statuses. Director Jiang, your speech earlier was absolutely amazing to hear. I really learned so much from it. I quickly text her back. There's really no need to be so polite about it, but she still strictly maintains that boss and employee boundary. You are the boss. I am the staff. It is only proper to act this way, she replies. Jiang turn, thank you so much for actually giving me this chance. I absolutely promise I will not let you down. And she actually walks the talk, throwing her entire life into the job. Daily overtime completely becomes her new normal, and she even frequently stays behind alone to watch over the office on weekends. Half a year flies by in a flash, and she finally gains the core ability to independently handle small-scale projects completely on her own. The content department manager specifically reports back to me, saying that Thum Hu Chu's overall growth rate is just straight up staggering. The various content plans she drafts up are of truly outstanding quality, totally qualifying her for a solid promotion up the ranks. She moves up to a higher position. I look through her recent work. Her writing is incredibly smooth and gentle. It carries this deep, emotional weight that only comes from someone who has been truly polished by life itself. You can clearly see every detour she took in her youth. All those bitter hardships she tasted, they finally piled up into a rock-solid foundation that belongs entirely to her now. By the end of the year, Thum Hu Chu successfully lands that promotion and a raise. She goes out of her way to message me just to say thanks. I just calmly reply back, this is all entirely earned by your own hard work. No need to thank me at all. Lunar New Year 2022 rolls around. I take my wife and kid back to our hometown, and we actually bump into Hu Chu's mother in the neighborhood. She grabs my mom's hand, smiling from ear to ear, constantly praising how successful my career is now. She also brings up how Hu Chu is currently working at my company. She says her daughter finally found a stable footing and plans to work incredibly hard, aiming to settle down in Beijing to bring both parents over for retirement. As she keeps talking, the auntie's eyes actually start turning pretty red. You can tell her heart is completely full of comfort and pure relief. My mom stands right beside her, gently comforting her. Everything is truly looking up. After the holiday break, we head back to Beijing. Thum Hu Chu is actually the very first person to show up at the company for work. She smiles brightly and wishes me a happy new year. Then she hands over a small red envelope, just a little token of appreciation meant for my kid. I honestly try to turn it down, but she totally insists I take it. She tells me to just treat it as a New Year's blessing. From an auntie to a junior. The moment I accept the red envelope, her expression shifts into something pretty hesitant. She asks if we can talk for a second. We step inside a completely empty room. She gets straight to the point. She wants to resign. I freeze up for a solid second, instinctively pressing her for a reason. It is not about the company or the job being bad. It is an issue entirely with herself. Working here means seeing me every single day. She says she just cannot help but remember our shared youth, constantly reminded of those absurd, incredibly foolish choices she made back in those early years. Keeping things like this is not fair to me, and it tortures her every single second. She pauses for a brief second. Her tone sounds relieved, yet somehow quite lonely. Jiang turn, she says, thank you for giving me a real chance to start completely over. But some regrets and mistakes simply can never be made up for. Instead of always drowning in memories and tearing herself apart, it is honestly so much better to completely walk away entirely and let go of the past. I ask her if she has carefully thought out exactly where she wants to go next. A friend actually introduced her to a fresh startup over in Shenzhen. The scale is pretty small right now, but the development prospects look incredibly good. She wants to head over there to totally reboot her life. I give a gentle nod. I completely respect her final decision. She offers me a sincere apology. I tell her I'd easily write up an industry recommendation letter for her, but she just shakes her head. No need for that, she says. She wants to rely purely on her own abilities. I sincerely wish her a brilliant future with smooth sailing ahead. In return, she gently wishes me everlasting happiness and total peace. On the exact day Thum Hu Chu finally resigns, the content department colleagues spontaneously gather around to see her off. Over this past year, she truly relied on her own raw talent and a deeply sincere work ethic. That practical dedication absolutely earned the genuine respect of everyone there. Her coworkers are clearly reluctant to say goodbye, promising to keep in touch and meet up in Shenzhen. She just smiles warmly, replying to every single person. Walking right past my office, she gives the door a gentle knock. Jiang turn, she calls out, I am heading out. Have a safe trip, I tell her. She takes one deep look at me, stays completely silent, and turns to leave. Her retreating figure looks incredibly firm and liberated. After Hu Chu finally leaves, we barely have any real contact anymore, but every now and then, I still manage to catch her daily updates on social media. She joins a brand new company, meets new colleagues, and genuinely opens up a completely fresh chapter of her life. She chops off her long hair, shedding all that heavy worldly fatigue for a much sharper, cooler vibe. At 35 years old, she has finally made peace with her past, slowly but surely living life entirely on her own terms. One time, she posts a beautiful photo watching the sunrise over Shenzhen Bay. The caption she attaches to it is perfectly simple and wonderfully healing. Every single sunrise out there marks a completely brand new beginning. Now watch this tiny detail. I casually drop a like on her post. Almost instantly, she replies back with a quick thank you. But just as fast, she actually sends the message. Thinking about it, she probably realized the same thing I did. There is absolutely no need for any unnecessary emotional entanglements between the two of us anymore. 2023 hits, and the company throws all its energy into going public. Every single day, I am incredibly busy, constantly spinning around like a total blur. Meanwhile, Ti Zhao is actively preparing to launch her very own second startup project. We both dive headfirst into our own careers. It is crazy busy, but our hearts feel totally at peace. Our daughter smoothly starts kindergarten, incredibly smart and sweet. Then one random day, my little girl suddenly tilts her small face up. She asks me, Dad, did you ever have a childhood sweetheart growing up? I freeze up for a second, gently recalling those old days. I tell her, yes, I did. She asks where that girl is now. Far away, I reply. Why aren't you two together? She wonders. You know how it is. Kids always ask the most incredibly straightforward, purely innocent questions. Like that. I think about it for a quiet moment. Then I softly answer her, because the paths we wanted to walk were just completely different. End of the year brings a high school reunion, and the organizer made sure to let me know. Thum Hu Chu was definitely going to be there. I hesitated for a moment, but eventually showed up. 20 whole years have passed, and our old classmates have completely changed over time. The class nerd is now a respected college professor, that one troublemaker who always failed. He somehow grinded his way into becoming a major CEO. Life's twists and turns really are impossible to predict from the start. Thum Hu Chu arrived a bit late, wearing a beautifully simple outfit with very light, graceful makeup. Now, at 37, she has completely shed that stubborn immaturity of her youth, truly growing into the calm, quiet, and easygoing presence of a fully mature woman. Seeing me, she gave a generous smile and said, "It has been a long time." Yeah, a really long time. During the party, everyone chatted about our old high school memories, and someone joked that back then I was always the very first one in class doing homework. Hu Chu always walked home with me. We were totally recognized as the best couple by the whole class. The vibe instantly got a tiny bit awkward, but Thum Hu Chu just smiled naturally, gently brushing the whole thing off. Those are all just old stories. Now, Jiang Turn is a huge boss, while I am just an average person who wouldn't dare reach so high anymore. I softly reassured her there was absolutely no need to talk like that. She lifted her glass, looking out at everyone. Now listen to this toast. Cheers to the youth we can never get back again. Everyone raised their glasses together, clinking them with a clear chime, and all those fluttering feelings and deep youthful regrets completely faded away into nothing but passing smoke right before our eyes. When the party finally ended, I offered to drop her off at her hotel. She originally wanted to grab a taxi herself, but she eventually stepped right into my car. On the way, she softly sighed. Jiang Turn. Seeing you with a perfect family and a successful career, I am truly happy for you. Because I am doing really well too. She let out a small laugh, carrying a clear sense of relief. I have been wandering and struggling all these years, just trying to figure out one single truth. In this human life, the most important thing is not who you manage to meet, but what kind of person you ultimately shape yourself into in the very end. It actually took me 20 whole years to fully grasp this lesson. Thankfully, nothing is ever considered too late. I whispered back, yeah, it is never really too late for anything at all. The car stopped right in front of the hotel. Right before getting out, she suddenly spoke up. Jiang Turn, I am getting married next month. I was quite surprised by that. I sincerely congratulated her. She mentioned he is a very normal businessman, extremely practical, solid, and completely stable in his work. He definitely will not say those overly romantic, poetic words. He has absolutely no artistic nostalgia, no clue about sweet romantic gestures, but he can truly give me a very steady and shakable kind of real happiness. That is enough for me. I sincerely wish you peaceful years from here on out. A soft, wet light swelled in her eyes as she smiled right back at me. Can I call you Brother Turn just one last time? Of course you can. Brother Turn. She took a really deep breath and muttered goodbye. After saying that, she turned completely around, walked straight into the hotel's revolving door, and never looked back. You see this? I sat there in my car, watching her silhouette slowly get swallowed up by the dark night. My phone rang at the exact right moment. It was Ti Zhao calling to rush me home. Our daughter was still waiting for me to tell her a bedtime story. I quickly agreed, started the engine, and headed back. In the rearview mirror, the magnificent hotel lights slowly faded away, blending right into the night lights of thousands of families across the city. It turns out some people are destined only for meetings, growth, and goodbyes, while others are totally meant to stay by your side and warmly bring you home forever. Arriving safely back home, my daughter immediately threw herself into my arms, whining and clinging to me for her favorite bedtime story. Ti Zhao stood nearby laughing, teasing how this exact same story has been told countless times. Yet she never, ever gets bored of hearing it. I picked my daughter up, spoke so softly, and slowly told the old story of how her mother and I met and spent time together in the science lab. Outside the window, the night sky was crystal clear, dotted with bright stars. The passing years felt perfectly peaceful and completely whole. On a totally quiet, lazy day, I cleaned out the study room and stumbled upon a high school diary, covered in years of dust. On the inside cover was "Them who choose truly childish, youthful handwriting. Brother Turn. We have to stay together always, test into the same college, work in the same city, then get married and have kids, completely inseparable for life. Who Chu loves you." Looking at these naive, romantic words, I seriously could not help but laugh a little at myself. At 18, we actually thought love was absolutely everything in life, completely unaware that life itself is basically an open-ended question. There has never really been one single standard, perfect answer. I tucked that diary right back deep into the bookshelf, letting all those raw, completely youthful memories just quietly gather dust over the slow passage of time. My daughter ran into the study, curiously asking what old thing I was looking at. I gently reassured her, just wait until you grow up, and Dad will show you. So how much longer do I have to wait? Just wait until you meet your very own childhood sweetheart, who belongs only to you. She tilted her little head, her face full of absolute confusion, and kept asking, what exactly is a childhood sweetheart? I patiently explained that it means a best friend you grow up with. She asks if she has one. Maybe you do. Tell her, maybe you do not. But if you do, you have to cherish them properly. I gently pat her little head, secretly realizing deep down that not every single pair of childhood sweethearts gets to stay together until the very end. I just keep that sad thought completely to myself. Once she grows up and experiences real maturity and separation, she will naturally and slowly figure it all out. Just like me and Them Who Chu. It took half my life to realize some people are just a passing breeze, stepping into our world only to teach us how to grow up. Meanwhile, others are like ancient trees with deep roots, meant to shelter the rest of our lives in absolute peace. The rarest luck is simply meeting the exact right person at the exact right time, someone you can spend your entire life with. I finally finish writing down this entire epilogue of old memories, just as dawn breaks outside the window. Right beside me, a wife is sleeping quite peacefully. Our daughter in the next room, she is definitely having sweet dreams too. Taking a quiet moment for myself, I step out onto the balcony and light up a cigarette. I honestly do not smoke that often. Only when looking back at all these old memories, do I let my heavy mind settle down and truly relax myself like this. My phone suddenly lights up with work emails. They list 3 meetings, 1 big fundraising pitch, and 2 separate interviews scheduled for tomorrow morning. Here is the funny part. To outsiders, I am the ultimate underdog nerd who actually made it big. A newly wealthy, self-made guy with pretty serious assets. Just a stereotypical nerd to them. My life is completely packed with a crazy heavy schedule. I stay incredibly busy all the time, yet I never actually feel tired. That is simply because absolutely everything I have today is something I actively chose and fought hard to grab hold of, step by steady step. Life is a lot like Thum Who Chew. After wandering in circles for half a lifetime, you finally escape those wild, stubborn obsessions of your youth. You finally find the life and the quiet refuge that truly suits you best. It might not have that explosive, epic romance you always dreamed of when you were young, but it brings a very real, grounded stability. It is practical and steady, like a long flowing river. My cigarette burns out. I turn around and head back into the bedroom. My wife groggily cuddles close, mumbling in a low voice to ask what time I am sleeping. What time are you waking up tomorrow? I tell her about my 6 a.m. meeting. She sighs, calling me a hopeless nerd who will never change. She just mutters that under her breath. I laugh out loud and answer her right back. Yeah, I really am just a massive nerd. A nerd who kept his original heart, protected his family, and lives a truly peaceful, happy life. And that is where our story finally ends.